Good morning and welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to a fresh new episode of Knock Off the Perch, where we talk everything Manchester United. We are talking on the back of a disappointing draw against Chelsea. Most of the fans went with zero expectations and somehow came back disappointed. But that has been the way of United this season. It has been very uncertain. It has been very up and down. It's one step forwards, two step backwards. We thought Eric Ten Hag leaving would change things, but this has shades of Eric Ten Hag era again. We talk about this game and we also review the game against PAOK in the Europa League. How have you been, Aruj? What did you make of the Chelsea draw?
Doing well. As you said, going into the game, I barely had any expectations. I would have been okay with the draw before starting the game, but the way we played the game, even Chelsea were pretty low on quality in this one. And we had decent chances, and we've been doing pretty well. We've been pretty decent with the chance creation, but again, missing those big chances. I think entire social media was flooded with that gap between the XG and the goals that we have had so far, highest in the Premier League. So I think that is where the disappointment crept in. Our forwards have really not upped their game. We have known that Rashford is pretty much at his prime now. Garnacho and Højlund have potential. We have known that for a couple of years now. It's just that we are not seeing them mature as players, so their decision making has been slightly on the poorer side. But that said, at least we didn't lose this one. Last two times when we faced the traditional top six clubs, we ended up losing 3-0. So I don't know whether to call this a bit of an improvement. But yeah, I think a lot to improve for this team as we come near to the beginning of Amorim era.
You called it in the preview episode as well that you expected this to be a draw, and it was a fair shout because I realized this is the most drawn fixture in the Premier League. Overall, 27 draws. It has seen 27 draws. Other than the last two seasons when United and Chelsea went bow to bow, us winning one, them winning one, it has been a 0-0 or a 1-1 kind of a match. And the lack of quality was more than anything worrying for me. You talk about chance creation. I see chance creation in two ways. Either one, our midfield is dominating the game. We didn't see that in this game. Second is if we are doing our high press right. That is another way in which we create chances. That also felt like that is why I say it felt like a Eric Ten Hag era, because our press is always everywhere. There is not a dedicated press. There is not a. I've talked about this before. There is not a singular trigger to which we press on the ball. No, we aimlessly press on the ball, and there is no pattern to it. And this is what I feel is causing the confusion and causing the lack of coherence in the attackers. Because see, Ruben Amorim can come and fix a lot of things. He can try and fix the whole system as well. But at the end of the day, you have to put the ball into the net. And unless and until our attackers are finishing their chances, that won't be the case. And I believe they'll start finishing their chances when there are more high quality chances. We talk about a lot of chances in this game, but I'd call most of those chances half chances. They weren't full blown. Okay, maybe a couple, maybe the Rashford one, which he volleyed, that was a good chance. But Coles mentioned that striker of his caliber could have just knocked the ball into the net rather than try to make it in the top corner. So that was definitely disappointing for me, and that is one of my major concerns when our new manager comes in. Our attackers not finishing the chances, one, and second, us having no non-existent press.
No, I think you hit the nail there. The challenge has always been, at least in the last 3-4 years, we don't have a prolific striker or a finisher in our squad. Maybe Ronaldo was the one who was the last one. Before that, couple of years here, we had a Zlatan, we had, Cavani did well whenever he had a chance. But over the last 7-8 years, we really, for the long term, we haven't had that talismanic striker. And based on last year's performance, I hope that Rasmus Højlund converts into one. Rasmus Højlund becomes one. But he is also in that process. He is in that journey where it will take him time to get there. Probably at this point in time, I think United's best finishers are Casemiro and Eriksen in terms of, the XG. If I were to really get into the statistics, look at the XG converted, that may be the result. I haven't looked at those data points yet. But Garnacho is very wasteful. I don't blame him entirely. He's 20. It will take him some time to become that elite finisher. But the great thing is he gets into the right positions. Rashford, we know, blows hot and cold. He has some phases where he will score from very low XG shots, score some outrageous goals. But then sometimes he will have very poor decision making in areas or in plays where he should be doing the basic things right. Bruno, we know he can be, erratic at times. Most of his plays, our chance creation are moment of magic. You wouldn't see him putting the, a tap in goal and stuff like that. So I think this is what we have been missing. And obviously hindsight is 20/20. Erik ten Hag wanted a certain Harry Kane to come in the year he was going to Bayern Munich. I don't know if Harry Kane was willing to come or not. Probably Premier League top scorer badge might have got him to United had we agreed to pay that 100 million. But we didn't have the money. And I think that is the kind of player we are lacking. I don't know if we will be able to sign one in the near-term future. And obviously it will hamper the development of Rasmus Højlund and Zirkzee. So Amorim's biggest challenge is going to be to figure out where are the goals going to come from, because if this is the rate at which we score, and if we look at the entire season, we take out the 7 and 5 goals out of the Carabao, we have really scored very, very few goals. So it's a big challenge.
We also have to look at where are our attackers placing themselves for these goals. We saw on social media how Casemiro was berating Garnacho for not tracking back. But even if I want to see the attacking ventures of Garnacho, Højlund and Rashford, there wasn't much on display in this game. Højlund, especially, his non-involvement and his not venturing into the box is very baffling to me, because we have seen that he has it in him, he has it in his locker to finish them chances once they arrive in the box. The fact that he wouldn't go into the box to score these chances is very baffling to me. It had something to do with the setup as well, which is very surprising because Ruud van Nistelrooy himself was a poacher. I believe 149 of his 150 goals have come from inside the box. So you'd think that his primary coaching to Højlund would be to tell him to stay in the box. And yet that didn't happen much. We saw that as soon as Højlund went in the box, the only goal that we scored, Højlund was the one who received the ball and was tackled and brought down. He was the one responsible for those so-called creating the goal. So he has to be found in that position. And then when we come to Garnacho and Højlund, their interplay is something which I'm not seeing. For that matter, I'm not seeing interplay of Garnacho with a lot of players. Amad was on the pitch. Garnacho had a very simple, if he could just take one touch through ball to Amad, it could have been a major big chance for us, because it was us 3-on-2 to Chelsea defenders. He chose to go ahead, dribble the ball and eventually lose it. This is the chance. This is the one in which Casemiro was berating Garnacho as well. So yeah, their decision making is rudimentary. It's not the decision making of Manchester United. Gary Neville mentioned that even in pressing metrics, we are somewhere around 11th or 12th right now. The number of high presses per game, we are on 11th or 12th. As Manchester United, we cannot be that down in these metrics. I can only hope that Ruben Amorim comes and fixes a lot of these mental barriers with these attackers, because that is what it seems. Because you and I both know, we have seen these players score some magnificent goals. So we know they have it in their locker to play well. But yeah, that mental barrier has to be moved.
Oh, fair point. And you spoke about a couple of things. I wouldn't, talk about the decision making again too much. I think we all know for a fact, especially if we talk about Garnacho, that decision making needs to improve. I think he has a little bit of individualism about him. I think all top players have some bit of that, but you need to get your decision making right in terms of when do you choose to pass on to your team members, when do you choose to sort of take on the opposition player yourself. But the other thing that you talked about in terms of the style that which we've been set up, and we briefly talked about, this game had shades of Eric Ten Hag all over it. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy also spoke about the fact that, he has a job for a very few games. He doesn't want to bring in new ideas. And you spoke about the fact that, him being a poacher, why is some of that not translating into Højlund? And we've been saying that Rasmus Højlund, at least from the Ten Hag system, was doing a lot of hold-up play, which was releasing the wingers and, with where our midfielders, when they get the ball, they would feed a Garnacho on the left or a Rashford on the right in the current days. So, which is where I think maybe Ruud is sort of continuing with some of that and not bringing in new ideas, fresher ideas at this point in time, because come 2 games later, Amorim is the one who's going to do that, bring in those fresh ideas and all of that. So, I wouldn't sort of go too much into the fact that why Ruud is not able to do some of this. But overall, I think without berating this point much more, it will be critical how our front three or front four sort of play over the next few months in order for us to rise in the Premier League table. So that is one big point for us. But apart from that, in terms of overall control of the game, this was also one of those games which was overall low on quality against Chelsea. I think one player that stood out for me, and he pretty much has across the season so far, is Mazraoui. Whether you play him at the right back position, whether you play him at the left back position, he stands out really, really well. I think he gets into the right positions during overlaps, underlaps, gets into the midfield. He's good defensively. I wouldn't call him maybe just what I've seen. Maybe one-on-ones, Van Bissaka was a better defender, but Mazraoui is good enough, I believe, defensively. I haven't seen a lot of gaps in his defensive play. And the biggest thing that I like about him is that he is able to navigate those moments of pressure really well. So he will find, and maybe I'm quoting Eric Ten Hag here, but he mentioned that Mazraoui finds solution when he's on the ball, and that is on display. So I think another point to add to probably Ten Hag's legacy is to get Mazraoui for probably he didn't negotiate the deal to get him for a 12-13 million from Bayern. But the fact that he earmarked him as a player who could do well, I think kudos on that. Brilliant. He, I think, was my man of the match in the previous game. And apart from that, a certain Casemiro, who suddenly seems to be very happy now that Eric Ten Hag is gone. Ruud van Nistelrooy has, I think it feels a little intentional that he's talking about Casemiro after every game. I think he wants to bring his morale back high, and he was good. Yeah. In the midweek against Leicester, 2 goals, good defensive performance as well. And even against Chelsea, apart from that one play between Onana and him, which was a little dodgy, I think Casemiro was pretty much on top of his game. And you spoke about it. I loved the fact that Casemiro called out Garnacho on the pitch. Then in their shades of Roy Keane bullying Cristiano Ronaldo a little 20 odd years back. And immediately later, Ronaldo scored a goal, Garnacho couldn't. But yeah. So Mazraoui, Casemiro, top performances for me. What do you think?
No, definitely. These two players weren't the contenders for our man of the match. Without doing anything wrong on the pitch, they showed the Manchester United mentality for me. Casemiro was berated by all fans, rivals as well as our own fans after the Liverpool game. The fact remains that he has come back very strongly in phases when we haven't had the midfield depth in our squad. Mount hasn't been there, Eriksen hasn't been there, and this again, I feel that this is a very underrated quality in any of the players being available. He has been available and he's played at his what is Casemiro's best right now. And we know that he cannot run, he doesn't have the legs, but the things which he does it brilliantly.
I think I like just one small point, and you can continue after that. I like the fact that although we got Casemiro as supposedly that number 6 player who has to be our rock defensively. I think now how he has transitioned with age and all of that, I feel he will do well with a defensive midfielder in the setup. Obviously, not a long-term solution for us, but I see Ugarte and Casemiro in combination playing a fair few matches through the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what Amorim has in mind for Casemiro. I don't know who his preferred preferred two center midfield would be in United's setup if we go for a 3-4-3. But I'd assume it to be Ugarte and Menu with Mount, Ericsson, and Casemiro given chances to impress in between. On that note, I wanted to discuss Ugarte as well, because Ugarte has been, again, he has been given his chances now. It's a relatively new league for him, but he has also grown a bit hot and cold this season. I think his best qualities remain his out of position play rather than on the ball. Also, his tackles, for which he's renowned for, tackles only work if you do them smartly. We saw Ugarte pick up a yellow card very early into the game this time, and we could see that after that, all tackles were tentative. This obviously didn't stop him, because even after the yellow card, he continued making fouls. I think he had 6 fouls after the yellow card. But one place, and I'd like to give plaudits to the Chelsea midfield on this, is their duels. So Ugarte went into 11 duels, won only 2 of them. He lost 9 duels. But this is something which I was expecting, because I knew Romeo Lavia and Caicedo, both of them together, have been in their prime form. So the fact that Ugarte, Casemiro made it difficult for them to run the midfield show. I mean, I think it is mostly that both the teams were bad rather than one team was better than the other. But the fact that we didn't let Chelsea play that freely, and that we controlled their best player, Cole Palmer, as well, who wasn't given any free rein and free shots outside the box or his trademarks through balls as well. I thought that was a job decent done. That being said, I'd like to see, we discussed this, we'd like to see more out of Ugarte.
No, absolutely. Ugarte, as you mentioned, right at the beginning of the game, he had a fair few turnovers. I think within the first 10-15 minutes, he had 3 turnovers, got a yellow card early in the game. So it was not going to be an easy game for him after that. But I think towards the second half became slightly better. That said, in the Premier League, he has to showcase a lot of development, I think, which is why a lot of players who come in from leagues like the Portuguese league, we haven't had a lot of, at least United, lot of people coming from the French league, especially on the defensive side of it. Euro, we will see how he does. But I think French league, Eredivisie, Portuguese league, people who come and take a lot of time to settle, because Premier League is a notch above in terms of physicality, in some cases in terms of speed as well. So Ugarte also, I think, will settle. It's too early to judge him as a signing, and in one of the Europa League games, in one of the League Cup games, he has done decently well. So I hope he continues to improve. But yeah, right now he's far from where he needs to be.
Who impressed you in our defense? I thought it was not our best defensive display, but you mentioned you liked what you were seeing out of De Ligt.
Yeah, so De Ligt, I think, and there were a lot of issues when you remember that first international break, when he had a very poor international break. He was just coming into the United team. That we were also a little apprehensive. Okay, what De Ligt are we getting? But I think over the course of last few games, De Ligt has been performing consistently. I think towards the end of the game, there was a slip from him which could have led to a shot, but thankfully nothing of serious consequence happened there. But I think apart from that, his overall command on the game, I think that is very good. I wouldn't say that he has had some outstanding performances, but he is doing the basics right. He is giving us those almost 7 on 10 performances on a regular basis, and I don't know what is the thing with Licha Martinez at this point in time. He is also not shining brilliantly. But of the two, if I had to choose one right now, I would say De Ligt is playing better than Licha Martinez for us right now. So De Ligt, I think, impressed me in this game as well. There were some of those periods of play when he would command the ball well, he would calm down the entire team. There were some certain cases when he would do good interceptions as well. So all in all, I think De Ligt, and obviously earlier I talked about Mazarov. I think those two have been doing well for us of late.
You've been relatively happy with Erik ten Hag's final transfer business for United. I think this was a decent window. Would we call it Erik ten Hag's window, or would we call it the Ineos window? I'm pretty sure Ineos would like to take the credit when they can.
Given the entire footballing structure, so to say, that has been set up with a director of recruitment, a technical director, all in place, and the entire complaint was, Erik ten Hag was expected to do everything earlier in the Glazers setup, but I would call it Ineos window. Obviously, suggestions from Erik ten Hag would have been taken into account. So, and at least in public, Erik ten Hag always came out and said that, as a management setup, all 4 or 5 of us are working closely together to take some of these decisions. So I think there is merit in giving some of the credit to Erik ten Hag also. But I think the general philosophy that we don't sign players who are, let's say, above the age of 25 or 26. Mazarov, I think, is just 26. We sign young players who can, who will have that upside in the future. And also from a commercial standpoint, if you sign a player who's nearing 30 or 30 plus, you are never getting a sale out of him in future. Even if a Zirkzee, for example, doesn't do great in the next couple of years, you decide to move him on, you'll still get some value out of him, just given the fact that he will be 25, 26 if he does decently well and not great also. So I think commercially also it makes a lot of sense, and all those, it feels to me, are Ineos guidelines. So I think, it is well and truly the start of Ineos era. Hopefully, Umar Barreda can live up to his promise of giving us a title by 2028.
Two more things which impressed me about Ineos lately has been the uniformity of football within the club. It has been the case in the last 10 years. We have had almost 6 permanent managers, and we've been shifting philosophies every 2 to 3 years. So Ineos have come in, and they, in the latest 2 actions by them, they have appointed Amorim as the head coach and not the manager of United. So most of his responsibilities would be on the football pitch rather than he has, of course, like you mentioned, like Erik ten Hag had some say in that recruitment. So he would go and tell the management team, these are the players and these are the profiles he wants. And after that, negotiations and everything will be Ineos' responsibility. This is the first action. And the second action has been, Ineos have put in a top-down approach. That is, our under 23, our under 18 teams will now play in the same style of play as we want to play in the men's senior team. So that will bring on ready-made academy players for our team. And youth inclusion has been our major point in our recruitment. When we are getting a manager, we do get a manager who likes to play youth. And in Amorim also, we are trying to find a manager who includes the youth from the setup again. So all this uniformity plus handing him a head coach role, I think this will go a long way into establishing a basic floor for United. The ceiling is obviously up to the manager.
A lot of top clubs have been doing that. I mean, you look at the likes of Liverpool, you look at the likes of Manchester City. Like, for example, look at Bradley, who came in and sort of slotted into the team so easily because when he was progressing in the under the junior teams, he was playing a similar setup. So it was easy for him to come into the senior team and play a similar setup. And then look at the likes of Oscar Bob, Rico Lewis for Manchester City as well. Right? They have also come in through the setup, and at the age of 18 and 19, they've looked like players who can, be a part of the team in the long run. So obviously it takes a lot of time. Like Pep Guardiola has been at it for 7-8 years now. Similarly, Klopp was the one who brought in those changes. So it is an important step. It was almost a hygiene factor for a top team, I believe now. And it was about time we did it, and hopefully we reap the benefits of it in future years.
Brilliant. So that was it from us for the Chelsea match. We'll now move on to talk about our next match in the Europa League, which is against struggling European side, PAOK. So PAOK are currently sitting 30th in the Europa League, having drawn one and lost the other two. In their own league, they are currently on second. They have won 6 out of the 10 games. They have scored 17. They have conceded 9. So, yes, this is a game we expect United to win and have a first win for Europa League. What would you like to see in this game, Aruj? What changes would you want to see from the last couple of games you've seen under Ruud van Nistelrooy?
I think first things first, this is a game that we should be winning. There are no, second thoughts about it. This is one of those games which has to bring our Europa League campaign back on track, gain some momentum out of it. So it is as winnable as the fixture gets. The team hasn't been. They are from the Greek league. No offense to any of the leagues, but the Premier League is notches above this, and United, the quality of squad, etc. I think we should be winning this easily. The game is at Old Trafford, so that is the basic expectation, and I hope this is not a win where we are struggling to a victory. It's just the one where we are confidently winning it, ensuring that we have a big margin of win, so that probably the goal difference, etc., that comes into play later also helps us there. So that is the first expectation. And second, I'm expecting some bit of rotation. Having played a game against Chelsea in the Premier League, I think this will be a good time to give some minutes to some of the players who are wanting minutes and haven't gotten them so much as well. So this will also be an opportunity to give minutes. From a perspective of managerial, I think I'm just going by what Ruud has said in the past. I think more of what has been sort of drilled into the players, where we are going to see that it is probably about having a setup within the team, the chemistry within the team in such a way that we are able to extract the maximum out of players. So I think we might see some bit of that, but largely I am hoping this will be a comfortable win for United.
Brilliant, brilliant. Let's see who starts in this one. Try and build as much as we can. Let's try and build a predicted lineup for United in this one. I believe Alter Binder was given his chance in the Carabao Cup and didn't impress that much. Since we haven't won an Europa League, owing to these two factors, that he didn't play well and we really need a win in Europa League, I believe it will be Onana starting in goal.
It should, because I think Eric Ten Hag had also played Binder in the previous Carabao Cup game. So it is more of the fact that he is a Carabao Cup goalkeeper for us at this point in time. I don't know if that happens against the Tottenham in the Tottenham game as well. But I think for this one, Onana should start. What about
our fullbacks? Our fullbacks remain the same. I think Dalo and Mazraoui should play. Who do you?
Given the lack of options, yeah. For centre back position, I think now we have Lindelof fit, we have Evans fit, and obviously Licha and De Ligt are the fit ones. Is Harry Maguire back?
Not yet.
Okay, so that rules him out. I think this will be where we play Licha Martinez because he is the left-footed one, and maybe Evans comes in for De Ligt to give him sub breather, and Lindelof maybe comes in post the 60th minute for Mazraoui or Dalo and play right back if required and all of that. So it could be Evans and Martinez that start maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I believe that should be the centre back pairing. This is a game where we might possibly, there is an outside chance of Tyrell Malacia also getting some minutes because he's been upping his training with the lads. He has been playing. So Ruud van Nistelrooy touched upon getting some players back into fray. I believe these players are Malacia, Mount and Eriksen. So there will be some injection of new players who have been injured for last 2-3 weeks. So yes, I do believe Malaysia might get some minutes in this game. Again, he'll see these minutes only if we are in a comfortable position. We talked about this.
Yeah, and talking about the players who might be returning soon, Lenny Yoro is also expected to be fit by the time we are back from the international break for the Ipswich game, which will also be Amorim's first game. So this will be a good inclusion for Amorim to get Euro back into the squad. Obviously, he will not be in a position to start right away, but it will be a good time to start integrating him. So yeah, okay. Now moving on to the midfield, I think Ugarte should get start for this one as well. I am not sure about Eriksen's fitness, but Ugarte, at least in some of these European games we saw against Fenerbahce, he was well, and as average his performance against Chelsea was, I think it will be a good game to continue to give him minutes at Old Trafford, and PAOK should be a relatively easier fixture. For the other midfielder, given the lack of options that we have at this stage, maybe Casemiro will only start. So I don't know if we have any other options at this stage. Mount is being talked about. He could possibly return, but again, won't start. And I'm sure Ruud van Nistelrooy will talk about it in the presser. And in the number 10 position, Bruno. So I think this will pretty much be a full-fledged starting 11 in the midfield as well for us.
Yeah, agree. In the attack, I'm expecting some changes. I believe it will be Ahmad starting this one. He's been knocking on the door for quite some time, so Ahmad should start this one. I believe Garnacho will be the one to be dropped. Rashford, anyways, yeah, I mean, let's call it rested. But yeah, he didn't do himself any favors in the last game. So it should be a combination of Ahmad, Rashford, and Zirkzee up top, is it?
I think so. I think with Ruud van Nistelrooy and Zirkzee's Dutch connection, I'm sure Ruud will try to give him a little more confidence. And I think Højlund also, with his fitness concerns at the start of the season, I think he's been eased and he's not playing every midway game. So I think it's fair to give Zirkzee starting 11 position in this one, and Højlund can come in around the 60th minute. So yeah, I think pretty much the 11 for us.
So that's a predictive lineup. We should win this comfortably, shouldn't we? We should have a clean sheet as well. I've been crying out loud for clean sheets. I like my sheets clean, but United somehow go ahead and concede as soon as the score happened this time. I was so happy with the 1-0 goal. I had Bruno in my fantasy team. Life was so happy for 5 minutes. But yeah, I believe this one we should win 3-0 at least. Kind of make some GD in the positive GD in the Europa League that might come in handy in the later stages. What do you say, Araj?
I'm going for a 5-0.
My God.
I think Ruud will continue to energize this team the way he did it for the Leicester game in the Carabao Cup. So another 5-star performance coming in, and hopefully we can keep a clean sheet as well. I think Rashford and Ahmad should be amongst goals. Hopefully maybe Zirkzee can also find the back of the net and some confidence. And maybe a goal from one of the central midfielders or the defenders, either a Casemiro or a De Ligt, should be good.
Yeah, sounds like a good shout.
Cool. So I think it's a game we should be winning. Hopefully, Ruud's last 2 games put us in a better position before Amorim takes over on the 24th of November for the game against Ipswich. We are eagerly looking forward to that. See you soon in the next one, where we review the PAOK game and talk about the upcoming Premier League game against Leicester. Thanks for joining in. Do give us your feedback. Do let us know how is it that we can improve this further. Do share it with your friends. And yeah, as always, this is our perch. Let's knock him off. Until next time, stay united.